Shalom. This week's Parsha is Vayishlach, and in this Parsha, there's the famous scene between Yaakov and the angel who blesses him. And I think this has been said by others, and I didn't realize this until I thought of it, or Hashem helped place it in my heart and head. So there you go. So the encounter that Yaakov has could at the same time be an encounter with an angel. Also, could be an encounter with a side of him that he hasn't faced, the shadow side, or some stuff, emotional stuff he hasn't dealt with, or that's what he was wrestling with. That's one way of interpreting this scene. And it's interesting enough that Yaakov was not able to face, before Yaakov faced this angel, faced this man, or another way of looking at it is facing himself, facing all of himself, was he had to send everything away. He was alone. It says in the pasuk, Yaakov levado. Oh, and Kafche, chapter 32, verse 25. Vayitaver. I'm sorry. Vayivater Yaakov levado. Vayitvater Yaakov levado in the Metsudah, Chumash, Rashi, Bereshis, the Israel and Sara Fruchter edition. Very good layout. And Yaakov remained alone. And it was only when Yaakov remained alone that he was able to face the angel, face perhaps the dark side of himself, unresolved issues in himself. Why couldn't it have happened earlier? Yaakov had the issues, or that side of himself that he needed to face for a long time. Well, first, Yaakov was dealing with a lot of stuff in his life. He had the whole situation with the Esav. This is also part of the Esav situation, but in the home and growing up, and then living in Levavan, and then marrying his two sisters, and getting, it's definitely not plenty of stuff for him to talk with his therapist about. What's interesting is when Yaakov's able to be alone, he's in a place of prosperity. Directly in the moment, certainly he is a threat of Esav, like he's afraid of him. True, but putting that aside, he is now. Right before this happens, when he leaves Lavan's house, he becomes very wealthy, and he has a lot of kids, and he's able to go. He has the courage to return home. So financially, he's found people. Physically, he's become a successful person. He has wives and kids. He's a family person. He's kind of established at this point, and it's almost like perhaps he is now feeling safe enough to be vulnerable to that part of himself. He has the support he needs to be able to do that kind of facing, that kind of encounter. And so when Yaakov's levado, he meets the angel, and he wrestles with him. And, Rabbi Sokolov taught me that the things that happen to us in life aren't meant, whatever they are, God's not sending it to, paraphrasing, but God's not sending them to us to bring us down. And I'm not talking about the small things, maybe the big things, like, if someone, God forbid, loses a parent or has a tragic accident, or the big things. They're not meant to embitter us, and they're not meant to bring us down. I think that, and may I always have that, they're a stepping stone to come closer in a way. Why that happened, beyond me. But I think it's not so easy sometimes to get to that place. Like, how does one get from the place of, how could this happen, to, it happened, and I've grown, or gained, or I'm more expanded because of it. How does one move that way? And I think the answer, part of the answer at least, is wrestling with the angel, feeling those feelings, facing whatever it is, like not letting also when Yaakov's levado, when he's alone, there's nothing distracting him from those things. Like he's not eating another piece of cake or going on his phone to like in his free time. Like he's in touch with the deepest part of himself. And it's interesting that in that battle with the angel wounds him on the thigh or upper thigh, and it's almost as if that energy, that negative energy, is stored somewhere in his body. And uh, learning from Rabbi James Jacobson Meisels, and also Anna Holub in her book, which I'll leave a source in the video sources, is, it's almost like it is like our soul and body, the intertwining of those things, the non-separation of those things, those emotional body, they're all connected, and it's like lodged in us physically. And if we're with God and with ourselves, we might be able to feel into those places that maybe it's tension in the shoulder. Who knows where that tension could be anywhere. And so, to recap, Yaakov felt safe enough at this point in his life to be vulnerable to whatever things he may have been running away from or he wasn't ready to experience. The angel could be those things. And here's, I think, the beautiful thing. When Yaakov faces the angel, he says, and after he wins the encounter, he says, Lo ashaleacha ki im berach tani. I will not let you go unless you bless me. Because my experience in wrestling with the angels in my life, in my soul, in my heart, is there's a great brachas. Sometimes the angels leave things like false ideas about the world, like, oh, I don't deserve this, or I'm bad, and when I face those angels or something, then and you face them, I face them, or we all face them with God's presence, with an open heart, a compassionate, accepting heart, and there's a great blessing that comes. There's a space filled that's an opening, usually from those places that are really tight and constricted, an opening for good things to come. And I don't think that it's not necessarily clearly like, oh, I pressed this button, opened heart, now everything's better, and I get my Ferrari or something. It's not like a clear, like, step A to step B. However, there's a great sense of relief, and a greater sense of possibility, which I think creates a space, a vessel for even more blessings to come. So, my bracha for myself, for us, for all of us here, may we face the angels, may we learn the blessings or gain blessings from whatever struggles we have, and may, while we face it alone, may we never be alone and realize we're never alone in that struggle.